Welcome to Agri India Hackathon. The event is live.
Hello everyone. I formally welcome you all for 5th Agri India Meet. Agri India Hackathon, which started a month back with a single aim to pull together all innovations in agriculture and build smart agriculture for a self-reliant India. So I'm glad to share with you all that we have received more than 6,000 applications from around the country, and all of those are very promising ideas that we had a very tough time selecting 300 out of them for the next round. So it gives me an immense amount of optimism that the agriculture in India has a very bright future. So today, for the 5th Agri India Meet, which is a part of Agri India Hackathon, I invite the panel of experts from industry to understand and get a deep dive into business aspect of agriculture and how we can foster it and make it a better place for the ecosystem as a whole. So now may I request Dr. Neeru Bhushan, CEO Pusa Krishi, to formally introduce the panel and start today's session. Yes,
Okay, thank you, Priyanka. And good evening to all the panelists and audience who are virtually connected with us. I, on behalf of ICAR, IARI, and on behalf of myself, welcome you all in the Agri India Meet 5th, focusing on Industry Connect, the business of agriculture. You all know that Agri India Meet is a part of Agri India Hackathon, which we have created this platform to discuss and to have a dialogue between the different stakeholders where we can have discussion, debates regarding the opportunities, challenges, recent trends, and how we can make this sector vibrant and how we can have the new innovation in this sector. With this aim, the Agri India Meet platform has been created. Today, I am proud to have the eminent speakers from the various agri value chain who is on ground reality would surely help participants to follow the efficient path to success. You all know that agribusiness ecosystem comprises the business activity performed from farm to fork, covering the entire value chain from supply of agriculture inputs, production and transformation of agriculture products, marketing of the agriculture output and their distribution to the final consumers. So it's very big. So you have the opportunity and challenges if you see the entire agriculture and allied sector scenario, starting from the preparation of the bedding or the preparation of the field till it goes to the consumer's plate. So everywhere there are the challenges. When there is a challenge, there is an opportunity for the startups. So today we will be having, we will listening from the eminent speaker from the industry. And I'm really very happy to introduce Mr. Pravesh Sharma, currently CEO at Kamatan Farm Tech and former 1982 batch IAS officer with deep experience of the agriculture sector. In his long association with the sector, he served as a secretary agriculture in government of Madhya Pradesh, as India representative of UN International Fund for Agriculture Development, and as MD of SFAC, Government of India, where he undertook a successful national campaign to mobilize farmers into producer organization, FPOs, to integrate small holder in the value chain. Sir, we are very happy to have you today for chairing the Agri India Meet. And now over to you, sir, for forwarding the session from here. Yeah, sir, please.
Thank you for your kind words, and thank you for organizing, I think, a very innovative format to bring together industry representatives who rarely to interact with policymakers or agriculturists. I think the initiative that ICR has undertaken to encourage better
there is some technical issue which made Dr. Sharma drop.
Yeah. I'll request to Shivam kindly speak to him. So before he joins us, so let me talk about little bit. This is the fifth Agri India Meet, and we have initially started with the theme-based Agri India Meets. Three were on a theme-based. First was being organized on the post-harvest, and second was organized on the supply chain and agriculture logistics, and third was on precision and farm allied sector. So in these meets, basically, we were like that, Dr. Sharma was saying, it is a unique panel. So the thing was that we would like to have all the stakeholders from all the parts. So of the proper ecosystem, so that they can talk, so they can guide you. And you can take that. This is because if we talk about the agriculture, so poor picture, or we feel like that this is not a very techie sector. So that's how when you will talk to these speakers, or you will just listen from the horse's mouth, then they can clarify that this sector has lot of opportunity, immense opportunity, where you can have your successful venture and you can have a very bright future, and you can be the next unicorn in this sector. So with this note, now I'll request to, I'll just take an opportunity to introduce to Mr. R.S. Sodhi, who is a keynote speaker for the 2 days Agri India Meet. And Dr. Sodhi, I'm really glad to introduce who is Managing Director at Amul India. His more than 35 years contribution to Amul has been phenomenal in making one of those famous brands known to every household of the country. We have been listening utterly, butterly, delicious so long since our childhood. So whenever I'm just talking to Amul, so that comes to my mind. So Mr. Sodhi is a very distinguished personality and has been associated with Amul since 1982, and is proud alumni of the prestigious Institute of Rural Management, Anand, and his mentor was none other than Dr. Verghese Kurian, the father of White Revolution. 45 years after Operation Flood that made India's world's largest milk producer, India continued to be on the lookout for the next breakthrough in agriculture, produce, and productivity. As India's population grows, it desperately needs the big burst in productivity to feed the millions being adding to the population year after year. So we would like to listen from Dr. Sodhi, what are the different, in fact, the Amul story itself is an inspiring story, how the entire region has been converted into the paying capacity, and in fact that has transformed the millions of lives over there, and in fact, and to bring India on a forefront. So I would like now request to Dr. Sodhi for his keynote speaker, where we would like to from him, to listen from him the story and the sector opportunity and the challenges. Sorry, sir, because you dropped out, so I used that time to introduce to Dr. Sodhi for the keynote speaker. In your absence, I took this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm sorry about the.
I know, sir, that because
coming at the right time.
Yeah.
But, let's look forward to listening to Sodhi ji. I would have done no better than what you have. Thank you so much for the introduction.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Neeru Bhushan, for wonderful introduction. So, respected Shri Parvesh Sharma ji, Dr. A.K. Tyagi ji, Dr. Sangeeta Ladda, Shri Ashish Jangle, Shri Nakul Sardana, and Shri Ashwarya Gupta, and all the audience. First of all, thank you very much. You are starting this Agri Hackathon with a doodh wala or a guy bhains wale se. And especially today's scenario, what is happening all over India. We know what is happening in Delhi or other. The importance of this topic is becoming more and more important. The need of agri startups or agri entrepreneurs, or so many names for such thing. I know when I was going through the more than 6,000 application, everybody must be very, very apprehensive of what is the future of becoming agri-entrepreneurs or agri-startup. And in today's my brief session, I like to cover that what is the scope of agri-entrepreneur in India, not today, of future, which are the various areas where they can focus more, which are the growth area. Then I'll also like to share very briefly that how Amul, which was a very small startup about 74 years back and has become today's India's biggest food or FMCG enterprise with more than 52,000 crore rupees per annum. So when I tell you the figures, I tell you the future, I think everybody will understand that sky is the limit in any agri enterprise. One way the agri enterprise or agri startup or agri business is different than other businesses, I think which everybody, all the stakeholders has to understand is this enterprise deals with masses at both the ends of the business or supply chain. Food is produced by the masses or millions. Food is consumed by the millions or billions. In between is the agri enterprise, whether organized or unorganized. And success of a business depends upon the how efficiently you can manage the supply chain right from producer to the consumer, right from aggregation, processing, storage, packing, and marketing and branding. These are the various, and then providing various other associated services to take care of this. Coming to the food, I mean, generally during this COVID or lockdown, everybody has understood the business of food. What is the future? I mean, where everybody was under recession, it was the food enterprises who were reluctantly or meekly telling COVID has got a positive impact on food business because there was a major shift in food eating habits by the 1.35 billion people, where people were mainly consuming from unorganized, unbranded, unpacked. Overnight, they shifted to branded, packed, trustworthy brands, immunity boosting product, more nutritious product. So suddenly everybody realized the importance of food. Everybody suddenly realized the importance of the food growers or the food processor or even the retailer who was giving, or the home delivery boy who was delivering uninterruptedly milk every day in the morning during this COVID or 5 or 6 months lockdown. So coming to the food market, India's food market is the biggest sector in the India or the world anywhere you go. If you talk about India, the market is, or the business is 40 lakh crore per annum. There's no business as big as this, 40 lakh crore, and it is growing at the rate of 5 to 6%. But if you come out of the 40 lakh crore, what is the organized sector where most of the agri startup are going to start or end? It is only 10% of that, that is 4 lakh crore. And that organized business of food business is growing at the rate of 10 to 11% per annum. Now, if you further divide this business, out of the biggest sector in this 40 lakh crore is the dairy, which is around 8 lakh crore. And let me also tell you the dairy turnover is more than the combined turnover of wheat, paddy, and sugarcane. And yesterday I was going through the budget speech of Honorable Finance Minister. You'll be surprised to know that dairy or animal husbandry sector contributes 27% to the agriculture GDP, and resource allocation was only 1.5% of the agriculture total budget. Most of the budget has gone for the the subsidies like fertilizer, crop, and this, which are required every year, which in my language, I call them the crutches. Very less investment had gone for the building the investment. So leaving aside that, dairy out of 8 lakh crore, 2.5 lakh crore is organized, the biggest. So out of 4 lakh crore food, 2.5 lakh crore is dairy. Now another 2 lakh crore is of our fisheries and 1 lakh crore is poultry. All these three sectors, dairy, poultry, fisheries, organized sector is growing at the rate of 13 to 14%, and the overall consumption is growing at around 6 to 7%. So this is the overall. Now coming to the dairy, because हमारे को देखिए कुछ भी आप बात करेंगे हम घूम फिर पे उसको डेयरी पे ले आएंगे, क्योंकि हमको लगता है इंडिया में अगर आपको अबाउट 150 मिलियन फार्मर्स का फ्यूचर देखना है, उनको आपको आगे डबलिंग फार्मर इनकम करनी है, if you have to provide them the livelihood and also the opportunities for any startup, the animal husbandry got the maximum because the growth is maximum there. I'll just give you some figures. During May, during lockdown, our Honorable Prime Minister mentioned about Atmanirbharta, and few people laughed that how can we become Atmanirbhar in energy or petroleum products or electronics or electrical durables or even edible oil, where 75,000 crore rupees imports are happening. We have to depend upon imports. But let me tell you, if you go back in our agriculture history, in 1960s till 60s, when the Green Revolution came, we were not Atmanirbhar in food. We were dependent on import of wheat. Then you come to the mid 70s, we were not Atmanirbhar in milk. India was a milk deficit country. I remember during my childhood days, I had to stand in 2 hours in front of Delhi Milk Scheme booth in Delhi to get 2 bottles of milk. That too after taking a aluminum token by getting a very influential person recommendation to get a token of Delhi Milk Scheme. Those were ration day of milk. And in mid 70s, and our milk production was around 20 million metric ton. Our population was growing, and per capita availability, which was 150 gram per person at the time of independence, it reduced to 110 gram by 70s because of increase in population, no increase in production. And in mid 70s, the farmers, the policymakers, and the political leadership decided that we have to become Atmanirbhar in milk. And what was done? To replicate Amul model across India, which was already successful, one part of India in Gujarat. And then National Dairy Development was formed, and Dr. Varghese Kurian replicated Amul model under Operation Flood 1, 2, 3, which was also called Revolution. And by mid 90s, we not only became Atmanirbhar, but world's largest producer of milk. And today I got just last 2 days back figure of our last year milk production from 20 million metric ton in mid 70s. You know what was our milk production last year? 198 million metric ton. We were 1/3 of USA and 1/8 of Europe in mid 70s. And today we are more than double than the USA and 25% more than Europe. And how it happened? Just by making long-term plans, encouraging enterprises to come in the dairy sector, and simply by linking them with the market. In any agriculture produce, it is very, very important. It is not only production, one has to link. If I go back to the Amul story of 40s, 46, when Britishers were ruling, Amul was formed because farmers were exploited in this part of Gujarat. They went to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel under the leadership of our founder chairman Tribhuvandas Patel. And what Sardar Patel told them that time holds true also for any agriculture producer or agriculture startup. What he said in 1946 is, if you want good price of your agri produce, you should not only produce it. You should aggregate, process and market it yourself. You should own the whole supply chain. Then only you'll get the best price. And 1946 is a long story that how the cooperative society was formed. Britishers were not allowing. They went on a strike. Then then British government under pressure agreed. 1949, Dr. Varghese Kurian landed up in Anand after completion of his master's from Michigan State University of USA just for 6 months. And Tribhuvan Das Patel persuaded him to stay throughout his life. And then a professional like Dr. Varghese Kurian did what Amul is today. On 31st of October 1946, Amul started with a very, very small enterprise, just 2 village cooperative society and 240 liters of milk. Nobody would have thought that time that Amul will become such a big, and or dairy or animal husbandry or agriculture organized has got such a big scope in India that time. And today Amul is, we had our monthly programming committee, and yesterday we got from 240 liters in 1946, yesterday we got 300 lakh liters or 30 million liters milk per day. And last year our turnover was 52,000 crore. I remember when I joined Amul in 1982, our turnover was 121 crore. And you see why this agri enterprise have been successful. Very simple. If you ask me in one word, I think the one word is consistency. Consistency in leadership or business objective, consistency in our products quality, consistency in our communication, and consistency in HR practices. Well, coming to the leadership, it is very, very important, not only for any cooperative and any startup, any enterprise, any business. We were lucky that we were a very, very selfless, dedicated political leadership, Tribhuvan Das Patel, who was that in 1940s Congress party president for this district, and a very committed leadership, Dr. Varghese Kurian, professional leadership. So political leadership and professional leadership worked throughout their life, and they made Amul success. And consistency business objective, the business objective which Amul had followed from day one. And I think that is very, very relevant for any business enterprise, especially for any agri enterprise. When I say you are dealing with the masses at both the side of supply chain. What is the business objective? Value for many, value for money. In food, when food is grown by the farmers, we ensure that our milk producer members, and we have got 3.6 million farmers who are owner of Amul. No government, no private enterprise, no multinational holds a single share. 100% it is with the 3.6 million farmers. So what is value for many means? Giving very stable and remunerative price to these 3.6 million farmers day after day, so that they are encouraged to invest more and to continue in dairy to produce more milk. And the other side value for many is providing best quality product by using the best pure ingredients, by using the latest technology for processing and packing, and providing value for money product to millions or billions of consumers. Why I'm saying value for money is, in India, food market is, if you want to get the market share reasonable, you have to target your food at a lower middle class segment. And that is where value for money comes. And if you are buying a liter of milk in Bombay, Delhi at 50 rupees, 40 to 42 rupees going back to the farmer in Gujarat or Maharashtra or Haryana or Rajasthan, 80% to 4% Amul, or even 70% to 75% by even a private or other competitors. And if you compare with the same with the Western model, whether Europe or New Zealand or USA, there a dairy producer get only 36%. Indians enterprise supply chain is very efficient. Let me tell you, I was just before COVID, I was in some international dairy conference. I met one of the biggest dairy company CEO who had wound up in India. When I asked him why you wound up, he said, Mr. Sodhi, we can't compete with the supply chain efficiency of Indian dairy companies. Indian agri enterprise will only succeed if your supply chain efficient. And again I'm talking this because that is very important, because if you add more value, so-called value means expenses in your value chain, and try to add up in the final product, consumer is not going to pay. You will get just 1 or 2% of top on the market, and you will never succeed. In food business, you have to deal on the scale. Food is a business of scale. Scale doesn't mean whole India or whole state. You can have a small scale in a city also, 10%, 20%. But you have to deal on a scale. Otherwise, you can never be efficient. Now let us come to the what is the future of dairy sector, and then I'll come that. Sorry, two things. Other three reasons I left were reasons for the Amul success. Second was the consistency in product. I mean, what butter we launched in 60, same product recipe, same ingredients, you are getting butter today. In food, most of the big companies will try to reduce the cost of production of food when you get some market share by replacing expensive ingredients with the cheap ingredients. In case of milk product, you replace dairy fat with the vegetable fat, or add more sugar or more water or more moisture, these things. But Amul has never done it. And that is why Amul is a most trusted or blind faith brand. The third is very important, is consistency in communication. In food, you do not have too much of budget for brand building or advertising. I mean, in case of Amul, we manage with less than 1%, that is 0.8%. So what is required is you have to come into such a unique, creative content and a unique media, and consistent with that, so that with the minimum of your media spending, you are top of the mind. I mean, you take example of our Amul Butter topical campaign, Amul Butter Girl, which is running for the last 54, 55 years, utterly buttery, delicious. Then Amul, the taste of India for the last 26 years, or the Amul Doodh Pita India for the last 18 years. I mean, we have never changed the positioning of brand, and that is why by spending peanuts. When I say spend, it's peanuts, and it is top of the mind. And the fourth very important reason for the success is consistent in HR. I mean, it is the people who make the organization, who break the organization. And we are lucky that in our organization, we are able to preserve, protect, and carry forward the legacy of our founder, Dr. Varghese Kurian and Tribhuwan Patel, by carrying the same DNA. Our all top team is on their first job. Like I'm there for 38, 39 years. So is my all the other heads and division heads. Everybody is on their first job. And that is the reason purity of DNA, purity of value system is carried. So with any organization which you are forming, startup, you have to see what are the value systems. Like in Amul value system, Dr. Kurian, two things is good to efficiency, excellence, and the integrity. Anything you want to do, it has to be excellent, whether building design or product or anything you take. So in dairy, if I tell what are the opportunities, you see, dairy opportunities are right from for any startup, right from milk production, milk aggregation, milk processing, supply chain logistic, branding, and the accessories like veterinary services, cattle feed, processing unit. I mean, if I give the figures, Today, out of the total milk production of around 51 crore liter per day, only 11 crore liter is coming to the organized sector. 20 crore liters is self-consumed by the farmer. But out of the surplus of 30, 31, only 11 crore is coming to the organized sector. But the way organized sector is growing in dairy, I mean, Amul is growing at 14-15%, but overall, another 10 years, the organized sector processing capacity will grow from 11 crore liter to 30 crore liters per day. So even in processing, there will be around 80,000 crore rupees investment only in processing plant. This much only 80,000 crore investment will be the other thing, right from cattle feed plant to the bulk milk coolers. There is a lot of opportunity for any entrepreneur to start automated milk collection systems. Lot of opportunity to starting milk testing, affordable milk testing kits or machines. I mean, in India still we do not have affordable milk testing machines to check the adulteration. Each machine is costing not less than 3.5 lakh crore, which you can't afford the average village cooperative society. If somebody can make the same, it is nothing but electronic machine like your mobile phone. If 30,000, it will be sold in millions. Cattle feed today is 2 lakh crore per annum. Only 15% is organized. So starting cattle feed, then lot of veterinary service, I mean, processing lines. I mean, you name the area. If you start, you see where you are sitting, what geography you are sitting, and you can do it. Now coming to some people may be interested in why not I launch a food. Like I said, market is 40 lakh crore and 4 lakh is organized, is growing at the rate of 10%. Lot of opportunity in launching packed branded food product anywhere, because food is such a market where wherever human population is there. Today we have 1.35 billion stomachs, and it will be 1.7 billion stomachs in India by 2050. We are world's largest and fastest growing market for the food, out of which when I say 80-90% is organized. So you can imagine how much potentiality exists for the organized food market in India for the future next 30-40 years. With the more disposable income, more education, more consumer shifting to the branded food products, and more people upgrading themselves from the carbohydrate-based diet to more protein and fat-rich diet. I think food is one sector which is going to give immense growth without any threat of recession or downturn, etc. Yes, but how to become a good brand in food is a big question. I've seen a lot of people, they want to start in agri also. I mean, they feel startup means laptop business. You sit before a laptop, link people, aggregate people, whether in food or IT or service, that is a startup. But food is a startup of brick and mortar. You have to be in the field, you have to be the farmers, you have to be the production floor, you have to make the food and supply. You can't be in food business sitting on the laptop. So one thing is very clear. Now in food, what are the opportunities? You select any food sector, whether dairy, poultry, fisheries, or you go to any of recipe side, anything. Just you go to nearest shop, 2-3 shops, you see still what consumers are buying unbranded. Put up a small presence. Use the best ingredients, use the latest technology to pack it. And now let me, technology is available off the shelf. Best labels, best packing, and make your brand Mahalla brand. Don't think of launching state-wise or nation-wise. In food, you can do 100 crore rupees business in just 2 cities of India. In case of Milk, you can do 100 crores in business in one city of any city having 5 to 6 lakh population. Because that is the consumption. But you have to see, you launch your product in a mohalla or in a city, get 10 to 15 to market share, then add another mohalla or a city, then district, then state, then next state. Food brand, I have seen most of the companies or startups have failed who want to spread thin and then add overheads, so they don't become competitive in supply chain efficiency. I remember about 35 years when Hausa used to walk into any store, she used to look for international brand or imported brand in food. Then situation came, people started looking for national brand. You know what? Now what is the latest trend in food? People look for local brands. They feel local food brands are fresh. Local food brands are meeting my taste. Local food brands are affordable, and local food brands are affordable and available also, especially in tier 2, tier 3 and smaller places like 5 to 6,000 population. So while concluding, I feel in today's situation, the one business sector which has got great potential for any entrepreneur or any startup is the food. And in food also, you have to see the sector which are growing sector, growth-wise, and also which are less organized. And you should get to the geography where the organized sector market is much lower in unorganized or unbranded segments. With these words, I like to end my talk, and I again thank Agri India Hackathon, that is ICAR, Pusa Krishi, and IRI for organizing this webinar. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sodiji. It's always so inspiring and so interesting to listen to you and your experiences. What a achievement, of course, that you have showcased before us. And we could frankly give you another 1 hour to speak, and we'd all be as glued to our screens as we have been for the last 35 minutes. Thank you again for your outstanding work, of course, but also for putting your experience, and especially Amul's experience, in such a analytical framework. And I think there's so much takeaway from your several points on how to build a food business. I'm sure that once the transcript or the report of this session, and I would urge Neeruji to make sure that this goes out not just to the live audience, but to a much bigger audience in future who can access these very wise words. So thank you again, Sodiji, for your presence here today in this session, and of course your leadership at Amul. We look forward to many more years of wonderful work from you. So friends, I think the panel has a really challenging task ahead of itself, given that the keynote speaker is a star like Mr. Sodhi, and he has, I think, showcased some very interesting ideas. I'm not planning to make any opening remarks, because I believe that this panel, as diverse and talented as it is, should be allowed to have its say. So I'm going to allow each speaker 8 minutes of an opening statement, where I'd request you to focus on your special area of work, given the overall theme that Neeruji outlined at the beginning, which is how do you marry business principles, as of course Amul has very successfully done, but we need maybe 1,000 Amuls in this country, if not more. How do we take these business principles to a largely unorganized sector like agriculture? Meeting the challenges, as Sodiji reminded us, a country with 14 crore farm households, the largest such population in the world, a growing population which will make us the world's most populous country in barely the next 30 years. So I'm going to request each of the panelists to please focus on their particular area of work and highlight how the innovations or the value addition work or the technology that they are promoting can help to build stronger linkages between their particular organization or their sector and the larger agricultural community. So I'm going to invite each of you again to remind you that I'll give you about 8 minutes. And at the end of 7 minutes, I'll just simply play the role of a timekeeper and give you a 1 minute heads up that your time is about to get over. And could I request Mr. Nakul Sardana, who's the CEO of Azero Infotech. And I think given the theme, the technology focused theme of this hackathon, we'll give the lead to a IT focused company and request Mr. Sardana to give us his views. The time starts now, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Praveshji, for giving me this opportunity, and respected Sodhidhar, respected Dr. Neeru, and my co-panelists who are there with me today on this Agri Hackathon organized by Pusa Krishi ICAR. Well, I primarily deals in waste management, so I'm somebody who collects the left out thing, but you have introduced me from the beginning in the very first slot. Thank you so much for that. I usually come in the last, right, when the waste is being there. If I talk about, I'm a head of an organization named Azero Infotech. We are based out of Gurgaon. We are an engineering and advisory company in the space of solid waste management and sustainable development. We have been in business since like 6.5 years. I'm personally practicing waste management in an Indian context since last 11.5 years now, and have been part of major schemes of government, be it JNNRM or Swachh Bharat Mission. Have worked extensively with state governments, municipal corporations, and different consulting firms. When I look at the overall sector, when the idea of being India as a 5 trillion economy by 2024, it's just it's an overwhelming kind of a feeling for me, and I personally see while agriculture back in India still contributes 17% into our GDP. I look forward that we should be able to to reach to that milestone and or convert that dream of 5 trillion economy, agriculture will be playing a very vital role. Why I'm particularly talking about agriculture at this, our audience is primarily around the focusing on this agri part, and the businesses, the startups are on the same line. I'll quickly just touch upon how this agriculture and the trash market overall looks like. Now, in the recent last 6 to 7 years, while there are government policies in place, we have seen a lot happening in the space of agriculture waste management. While every business comes with some of the challenges in the past, that how you're gonna manage its overall supply chain and what is being left out in the last. We call it primarily waste or trash. To say on it that then it becomes a part of a sustainable development. If you want to scale up, if you want to grow very faster, you need to take care of these things very utterly importantly, because these are the basic factors which helps you to do some backward integration in the business. Where we get to see we have been facing a lot of challenges with the agri crop or the left out agriculture waste. And we get to see in the Punjab and Haryana, we burn this rice crop which we call Parali during the month of October and November. And there are larger initiatives which are coming in picture now, where the government has, and the state government, the central government started thinking to convert this Parali, the agriculture waste, in a more effective manner. Say, could be putting up a biogas plant and assessing it as a feedstock for those biogas plants. There are several such reports are in the pipeline, and we are assuming that a lot of such plants will be coming in future, where this particular sort of a problem of agriculture waste we would be able to cater it. And when we particularly look at this overall area, it's an approach like we can learn from the first world countries in this particular space. While we develop this agriculture, when we go very largely into, we need to have a cash crop overall in the period of coming time. we need to have cluster-based approach where we have these food cooperatives in a particular cluster. We have farms, cash crops, and the waste is coming to a particular processing unit where we are able to deal with the waste. We are solving the basic ground problem, and we are supplying back the derivatives of this waste processing in form of the energy directly back to those industries which are playing that very vital role back there, or otherwise to the household. So this a backward integration of this overall cycle makes a lot of sense in terms of financials, economic development, and sustainable development. That should be the approach to look at overall development of the agriculture business, where we are able to tackle what is being left out, which might create a problem in the future in terms of we have been facing a local waste management at a municipal level, but when it comes to largely in the agriculture side, we have recently got aware of it. Now, when I talk about my personal, lookout on how do I see this entrepreneurship in this space, it is very important. Just to inform you, like we are designing Asia's biggest biogas plant, which is coming in Indore. We have recently got into a strategic partnership with a German engineering company. We started a first global design center back in Gurgaon, and the overall idea is to serve Indian market with a competitive technology in the right price. And we have been able to do it successfully with this experiment, with this first project back in India, where we will be dealing a municipal solid waste, source segregated solid waste of 500 ton per day. So we are the design partner of this overall, the first ever biogas plant in India, which is based on the source segregated organic waste, and the overall concept to solve any problem at this point of time where we are standing, which is like everything is digital, to have a right technology piece in place. You cannot go iterative every time with a new set of technology. You need to figure out, you need to explore and make a mindset. Yes, this is something which is most viable for me at this point of a time. I'll quickly, again, getting into this same space, I would say that for any entrepreneur who is in agriculture or in any agribusiness or say any other, it is very important to understand who's your customer and where is your market. If you are speaking out loud, standing somewhere alone, nobody will hear you. If you go to your market, if you speak out loud, there will be an audience to hear you. So it is very important for an entrepreneur in this, especially in an unorganized business like waste management was one of them. I'm thankful to the Honorable Prime Minister.
You have 1 minute.
Thank you. So in an organized market, it is very important that, who is your customer and where is your market, and what kind of value addition you are bringing to an innovation. It could be a technology piece, it could be a product innovation, it could be another new type of a service which is leading to maybe a time optimization or value chain optimization. And the idea is to be like what the kind of innovation or the technology we are proposing, whether it's a part of a sustainable development or will that create another problem to us in the later future. Though a problem generates a new business, but this overall, covering this idea of sustainable development and monitoring it over a period is very important. And being very honest and having that integrity and love to your work, love to your job, what you are bringing in, what you talk about to people, that has to be there. That which plays a consistency, persistence. These are the very important thing. But love and passion towards your work is something which plays a very vital role. Thank you.
Thank you, Nakul. That was a very passionate and very interesting exposition of your work. Certainly a lot of takeaways from there. And I'm sure that when we come back for the audience question section, many people may have some follow-up questions for you. Thank you again for your intervention. I'm going to invite Dr. A.K. Tyagi, the Executive Director of Haldiram Foods, next. This is, of course, a very popular and well-known brand. And Dr. Tyagi, please share your thoughts with us. Thank you.
Thank you to Agri India for providing me this opportunity to speak here. Respected Sondi Saab, Parvez ji, Priyanka ji, and other my co-panel members. Looking the time constraint, I will only highlight the bullet point. And Mr. Parvez told that what we are doing in agriculture field, and how much we are going in the future in the agriculture field. So Haldiram is a agriculture based company. Our linkage with the farmer is very, very old. If we see the Haldiram story had started in 1941 with a very small shop, selling the loose bhujia, especially not namkeen, loose bhujia in Bikaner town only. Then after 1941, if we see the Haldiram trade settler, so we have entered to the branded namkeen in 1990. First company in India to enter the branded namkeen in 1990, and first company to do the 100% automation for making the traditional snack without any human touch. And we are the first company to find the pioneering way of the packing, just like a dip pouch, steady pouch, to provide the convenience to our consumer. And Haldiram is the first company to offer traditional Indian street food in a most hygienic way in the restaurant. So this is the trend setter of the Haldiram. If we come to the agricultural product, I just defined with the example. If you take the example of the namkeen, so namkeen and traditional snack, most of the product has to be prepared either from the lentil or either from the potato, and both are the farmer produce. Because the most of the part of the namkeen and what is Indian snack is either we are using the potato or we are using the legumes, and we are also using the cereals. So all our raw material is related to the farmer. Therefore, if we take the example of the example of the potato. In potato, we have done some of the work and related to the potato, especially processing quality of the potato. If you recall the history 20 years ago, so there was no processing quality potato, and there was not any definition to produce processing quality potato. So without the rule also, we have started the contact farming, and we are associated with the farmers, many thousand, in which we are doing the direct buying, and we are trying to make the agreement for the 1 crore with the farmer as much as possible. So if we see how corporate can link with the farmer, so definitely we require some special variety of the legumes, because some of the pulses we are importing. Hence, we have to grow these pulses with the help of the partner in terms of the partnership in India, so that there should not be any need of the import of the pulses. Because when you enter to the food, so we have to keep in the mind the taste of the consumer, what texture he required and customer need. And at the same time, we have to link customer with the farmer, that which type of the variety in the agriculture, which type of the variety in the legumes, which type of the variety in the cereal, and which type of the variety required in potato to produce the right type of the snack. If I come to the snack market is about 40,000 crore branded snack market. I am not calling the unbranded. However, we have also converted from unbranded to branded, because previously we are selling our product in the loose condition and we are making only bhujia. Then we multiply our portfolio to make different type of the namkeen, bhujia, khatta meetha mixture, navratan, many namkeen. And currently we have around 250 products and near to 400 SKU. And definitely we are the pan-India brand. And out of this 40,000 crore turnover, 20,000 turnover will contribute from the traditional snack, and 20,000 crore will come from the just like a potato chips, just like a extruded product, just like a bridge type of the product. So that is the 20,000 crore. So we acquire both the market, and Haldiram acquire about 20% market in the salty snack and near to 35% market in the traditional snack. And secondly, if we take the world portfolio, so Haldiram is present in near to 50 countries. Now we come to the farmer. Definitely, what I highlight here to make the good brand, we need right type of the raw material. Secondly, we need the right type of the equipment. And secondly, we have to provide our product to the consumer at affordable price. And definitely we have to not compromise with the taste of the product, hygiene of the product, consistency of the product. So Haldiram USP is very clear. We will try to give the product to our customer at a affordable price. Secondly, we want to work the farmer as much as possible. Suppose anything we can get directly from the farmer. So we will try to link, and by this new type of the rule, definitely it will give very good linkage to accelerate the contact farming, to accelerate the technological investment, to accelerate the innovative opportunity, and to work fast in the agriculture sector. So we are very hopeful with the help of all these type of the rule, we will be able to link with the farmer in a better way. And we will try to give the specific seed to the farmer so that he will produce as per our requirement. And already we are doing the contact farming, but our future focus will be more contact farming. Our future focus will be more partnership with the farmer. And secondly, we will try to bring the technology as much as possible to bring in the agri sector. And as our product will promote, so definitely because our raw material is mainly agriculture produce, so it will give benefit to the farmer as well as it gives the benefit to the consumer also, because our policy is very clear to provide tasty, hygienic, consistency product to the consumer at affordable price. But at the same time, we will try to remove the middleman as much as possible and try to connect with the farmer so that whatever benefit middleman or other person are getting, we can pass to the farmer. So there are many examples. We have done some peanut farming also with the farmer. We have done some lentil farming also with the farmer. Potato farming we are already doing. So in nutshell, I think it is a very good program. And Haldiram is committed to work with the farmer as a partner at a large scale, and with this type of the agreement, we will bring down the technology, and we will also bring down innovative seeds, and at the same time we will maintain our USP. But if we see the food sector, so most of the food sector is related to agriculture. As the food sector will grow, the farmer will get more benefit, and this agri-tech will grow much faster. Therefore, to enter for any new starter, because we have also entered with a very small soap, and now we have become pan-India brand, not it is an Indian global brand, because we are present in more than 50 countries. So USP is very clear. First USP is that you have to differentiate your product. Branding means very clear. You have to differentiate your product. Your product should be better than others. Either it is in terms of the taste, either it is in terms of the better way of the packaging, either it is in terms of the freshness, either it is in terms of the most hygienic, either it is in terms of the consistency in the quality. So always Haldiram keep in the mind that how we can deliver to our consumer better quality, consistency quality in a very hygienic way. That is why we have done a lot of the investment in the automation. And our company is the first company who do the 100% automation for this agriculture produce. Or definitely we keep the farmer also in the mind. That is why we try to connect with the farmer and to want to give the maximum benefit to the farmer. Because when you remove the middleman, so definitely your benefit will go to the farmer, and it is a long-term strategy. So on this, I just finished my program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Tyagi. Very insightful comments, and wonderful to learn of your attitude to tie up with farmers on a larger scale, and also your words of wisdom for new startups, especially in the food space. I'm sure many people will benefit from these thoughts. Thank you again for your intervention.
Thank you.
I'm going to call upon Mr. Ashish Jangale, who's the head of precision engineering, precision farming in Mahindra and Mahindra. A very important player, of course, as we know, more known for tractors and other farm heavy equipment. But we'd like to hear from you on your work on precision engineering. Again, keeping to the overall theme of how startups and farmers could benefit from the work that you're doing. Mr. Jangale. You're on mute, Mr. Jangale.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. It is good to be a part of this panel. Excited to share some of the learnings I have had in last several years working with farmers and some of the advanced technologies that are out in the world today. I'll give a little bit of background. So I work in the precision farming group at Farm Division in Mahindra and Mahindra. Mahindra is better known for tractors, as you correctly said, but we have a full range of mechanization equipment, tractors, harvesters, sprayers, a range of implements that cater to different crop growth cycles and assist farmers in spraying, planting, seeding, harvesting, etc. In terms of the footprint that Mahindra has, we are a global company with equity stakes or ownerships in Mahindra USA, Sampo Rosenlöv, which is a small harvester company based out of Finland, Mitsubishi Agricultural Machinery specializing in rice portfolio products, tractors and implements, based out in Japan. We have equity stake in Hisarlar and Erkunt, which are Turkey's top 5 implement and tractor companies. And we also have a domestic brand, Swaraj. So through these brands and through these product portfolios, we serve a range of farmers globally for different crops, potatoes, sugarcane, rice, wheat, vegetables, horticulture. Now, the question was, how do you marry business principles to agriculture? And I would want to anchor my answer into 2 things. The business principles remain same. The way it has to be done has slightly altered in the last several years. Let me explain what I mean. The rate at which technology is accelerating is very difficult for startups. It is very difficult for corporates to keep up, for any corporate to keep up, any particular institution to keep up. So if you look at the R&D that was carried out in organization, it was very confidential. It was within the internal boundaries of an organization. And it is difficult to build these competencies, these capabilities within the organization. So what has been happening in the corporate world is they are trying to hedge their bets in doing some things internally, and then depending on an external R&D system. This R&D system could be made out of startups. It could be made of universities, academia, trusted partners, or niche boutique players in the industry. A lot of these startups, work with the corporates on a very teething problem in agriculture. They, startups being more agile and more flexible in terms of creating these solutions, reaching farmer, help the corporates to innovate outside their boundaries. So this is the first principle. The second principle that I personally see being adopted in India and around the globe is a lot of companies are trying to create this solution with their customers, with farmers, And let me tell you what I mean by that. Conventional products such as tractors, all of this is planned internally. What features need to be added, what is the productivity metric, what will it accomplish on the farm, how will it please the farmer, how will it increase productivity. All of this is planned. This is very mature. However, if you want to develop a tech solution, an AI solution, or a robotic solution, there is such a diversity in agriculture, different soil type, different agroclimatic zones, different weather patterns, different crops, and even different customer psychologies to adopting this product. So companies are trying to work with the farmers and trying to co-create these solutions with the farmers. I believe these are major trends that I'm seeing in terms of how they have tuned to the new realities in the market. Over to you, Dr. Sharma.
Thank you so much, Ashish, for very precise and focused comments. And certainly it's very interesting to hear of the approach, even if it's an approach only adopted by a major corporate like Mahindra. It does bode well for the kind of budding startups who are focused in technology. If they can look forward to joint collaboration with a major company like Mahindra. So thank you again for your thoughts and for sharing them with us. Can I invite Dr. Sangeeta Ladda, who's now business director of Rivulus Irrigation. She's a veteran of the micro irrigation industry, and she's of course worn many hats. So welcome, Dr. Ladda, and can we have your thoughts on today's theme, please?
Sure, sir. Good evening, Pravesh sir. Good evening, Sodhiji, Neeru, Dr. Neeru, and all my other panel members. And it's great always to be here. Especially I've been associated with the Agri India Startup campaign and have vetted a lot of agri startups. So it's always great to be talking to various startups. I'm representing Rivulus Irrigation India, which is a subsidiary of Rivulus Israel, offering water management solutions in more than 30 countries since last 50 years and above. And basically, we are a future-ready micro irrigation visionary with an extensive product offering. Friends, when it comes to agriculture, water, it goes without saying that globally agriculture consumes 70% of the fresh available water, and India consumes almost whopping 90% of the fresh water. And guzzling crops like sugarcane, cotton, rice, wheat accounts for almost nearly 70% of this. And the way forward is per drop more crop or water use efficiency or increasing the water productivity of the crops. And micro irrigation is one of the way forward. But further to that, a little background that India is staring at a water apocalypse, because we are 5 years down the line, we are going to arrive at a situation wherein our water demand shall surpass the availability. And the way forward, though micro irrigation is a way forward, but if you look at the statistics, out of the 69 million hectares of irrigated area, hardly 10% of the area or 10 to 15% of the area is under micro irrigation today. So there is still a lot to be done in this particular space. And though if we go through the average monsoons or average rains or 110 years of monsoon average, India is having almost 890 mm rains per annum. And then the obvious question is, why are we so water stressed and glaring at a water catastrophe when a country like Israel has a per capita availability of only 100 cubic meter, whereas we have much higher than that. So the answer is we are water stressed not on account of water available, but because of management. And this demands a remarkable transformation, a tectonic shift in our approach from productivity to water productivity, and not just concentrating on yield or talking about kilograms per hectare, but on talking of kilograms of produced per cubic meter of water utilized, and therefore a resource water use efficiency. Agri startups have brought in various innovations and information technology, and with a smartphone capturing each and every rural heart of the country. And now that is it is possible for to analyze the farms pixel by pixel And with this rapid cycle of technologies and fast pace of digital transformation, we industry, if we have got to remain relevant, the competitive advantage or scaling up of any business is accelerating the digital transformation or innovation and driving, reinventing the way we are doing our business. So friends, though large firms have got a huge amount of funds available for R&D, and especially when it comes to agriculture, R&D means a huge plot of land and all. But when it comes to small organizations, having such a huge infrastructure is not possible. And therefore, the way forward is the collaborations with youngsters or with these such startups and create an impact with the digital transformation. And the power of data-driven decision making and impact on top line, bottom line has already been recognized by the industry, by the board. So I would like to reflect here upon a case study on how acquiring a startup has changed our offering as a company from precision farming to smart farming. Rivulus India or Rivulus Israel are a global partner. They acquired a new startup which was offering a cloud-based irrigation intelligence. Now, this is a software which gives a customized information on irrigation recommendation to individual farmer. It is based on the crop, the soil moisture, the growth stage of the crop, and it uses the satellite data, the hyper-local weather information, and it is software driven. It is absolutely sensor free, no hardware, and every farmer can get information about how much to irrigate, when to irrigate, the data of weather intelligence on his mobile. In fact, a high resolution map of his farm is available on his WhatsApp, and a farmer is able to take a decision about irrigation. Now, this was in alliance with our existing line of business, which was micro irrigation. But micro irrigation could be given only to farms having pumping, having water. But what if there is no micro irrigation, and if 90% of the farms in the country are flood irrigated? So can we have still a water management even on those farms not having macro irrigation? So the way forward was having such softwares integrated, wherein any farm can have this software uploaded as an app and get the information about the crop and the water management advisor. But taking forward with respect to startups, I think many young founders have come out with such robust technologies. One was such Manna Irrigation, this company which we acquired, but had little clue of the ground realities. So innovative products, processes need commercialization. And most of the startups face challenges on delivering on the reliable proof of concept or have access to resources, and most of the solutions do not see the light of the day. In fact, when Manna was, the software was acquired by Rivulus, they got extrapolated to almost 30 countries, to millions of farmers, and overnight this company, which was based out of Israel, got the technologies extrapolated to almost across the continents. So I think this the intangible and tangible resources which existing corporation has acts as an accelerator, converts it, the existing organization becomes a digitally transformed, and in the promotion, it is a win-win situation for both the startups as well as the corporates, because the distribution channels of the corporates could be used by the startups, and cooperation, co-branding, co-development are some of the areas which both of them take forward. Apart from this, I think the opportunities which we see in this particular sector, especially when it comes to irrigation, in fact, even if today if we get any of the startups which has got crop analytics or crop data, or startups giving information, startups which can give information on the sort of crop, whether the irrigation systems are available or not, the source of water is available or not, and details about the various farms. I think we as a company will always be able to take up some initiative in tying up with such startups, because smart marketing, smart lead generation, smart farms, smart risk management is a way forward. And I think we are very open for such ideas of any startups who come to us with any such of automation techniques or software offerings in the space of irrigation and water management. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta-ji, for sharing some very interesting thoughts. And certainly what is happening is very exciting. And I'll maybe comment on this at the very end. But to be fair to the panel, given that we have I believe, cut off at 5:30. Can I invite Aishwarya Gupta of Bosch Engineering to please share his thoughts with us? Mr. Aishwarya Gupta?
Hi, sorry, I was clicking on mute. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Parvesh. Thank you everyone for bringing me on this panel. Primarily, I work for a global company which is the largest supplier of technology and services in roughly around 135, 36 countries, employing 4 lakh people. And just in the layman terms, most of the cars that you drive today have Bosch technology. We are the largest manufacturer of sensors in the world as well. So it's like a big, huge elephant. Okay. But the perspective that I would like to bring in today in my personal career as well, I worked with a startup which was roughly around 20 people. Now that has boomed to more than 200 people. And that kind of a comparison, if you see between a startup and a large heavy giant like Bosch, there are certain unique angles that come up. And those insights that once you see a comparison are really unique. So for example, someone somewhere said that, what is the best way to get a good idea? The best way to get a good idea is to get lots of ideas. Okay, so if you're like a big organization and you are looking for coming up with new ideas, but most of your energy is already getting spent into leading your core businesses because that's your core revenue generating area. And anything which becomes too smaller from that big revenue to doing a small startup doesn't really look lucrative to you. Okay. That is where the energy, the thinking, the thought process into investing into new ideas is not given a priority. That is why I think the latest shift that has happened in the corporate's minds as well is that, how do I come up with new ideas that those I can scale it up to a bigger vision. Okay. With that said in perspective, we are also a largest suppliers of a lot of technologies to the agri input companies, manufacturing companies of highway vehicles as well. How we have been able to leverage the startup ecosystem is providing a DNA next kind of a structure within our organization, in which we invite different domains of technologies of the startups who are out there, and then we give them a chance to pitch. And then, once we see the strategic alignment to our Bosch search fields, we bring them on, we onboard them and saying, and what is there for the startups to get out of this complete engagement? Why should they even partner with Bosch? What do they get with it? First is that, I'll speak with Bosch perspective first. So we are able to get ground realities of what people are trying to solve in the world. What are the new kind of problems out there and how people are trying to solve it. Second thing that Bosch gets is it's get the new acumen and new blood into the ecosystem, wherein we have new thought processes coming in and we can look at new search field and new areas that could be explored. Now, what do startups have, to get out of this engagement, and why should they collaborate with a big name? What happens is a particular startup is going to be really fast in terms of identifying a problem, identifying the need, going to solve it. And maybe do a quick POC or a quick pilot to just scale to bring it to a level where it can be verified that I have an MVP and it's already stable into the market. The second part of the puzzle, as Dr. Sangeeta and Ashish was also mentioning, is how do you take it to the market? How do you make it a production ready solution? How do I reach from a small village doing an polyhouse automation to reach to a global market, and how do I take it there? What are going to be my channels? That is where the engagement with a large corporate for a startup becomes really, really handy. And in today's connected world, if one organization solves a particular problem in the startup solves a particular problem in a very innovative way, in 1 or 2 months or years time, you see that problem has been briefly copied, and there are multiple solutions out there. So what's very, very important for the startup is to have identify a problem, identify a need out there, develop an MVP, and to scale up as fast as possible. And that's where, I believe the investors are looking at these startups as well. And, how can we invest our money into those startups and scale them faster so that the barriers to entry can be created and the competition is not out there. And, since we are speaking to a lot of these startups out there, there are 2-3 things that we really need to take care when we are addressing a a problem out there in the industry. First is the market potential for that problem that I'm trying to solve is really important, because the corporates look at that, is the problem big enough that is being solved? Second thing is it a growing problem? You don't want to solve a problem that's not going to be a problem, in the near future. Like Bangalore traffic, it's a growing problem. So, it's a good idea to invest into that. Third is it an expensive problem to solve? Okay, so I don't want to solve a problem, like filling a pothole maybe, because it's a cheap problem. I want to solve problems which are expensive and where the people will be willing to pay me more money. Is it an urgent problem? Urgent problem as in, I need it now. For example, the shirt I'm wearing. Okay, I need one shirt now, but when I would be needing that shirt? Is it an urgent problem? Do I need to charge my phone again and again and again? So those are the dimensions that once we look at these problems as well, we need to validate our problem hypothesis on those dimensions. Second thing that I wanted to talk about is the dimensions and then unique advantage. So, latest in the industry is how the startup valuations are being done. The investors and the corporates are looking for the startup who has a unique little advantage, and that advantage can be sustained quickly. If I invest money into that unique advantage, it can be scaled up really, really fast and made a big proposition out of it. So, coming from my standpoint, where I saw, and I was a part of a startup, I grew it to a certain level, and working in a large organization, I see those differences. You can be fast in a startup, but how do you grow it? What's your go-to market? How would you brand it? How would you create the barriers to entry? Second, do I really need to associate with a large group? Does it have all the resources, competencies, and the speed and the agility that people should be having in the large corporate to take it forward? Net, this is where I would like to stop as well, since we are running short of time. But the startup have a novel idea, and the corporate should come together to experiment more and make this world a better place. That's what I would like to say. Thanks. Mr. Parvez, mute, yeah.
Thank you for your remarks. Sorry, I was on mute. I think you've made a very interesting comparison between a startup and a large multinational like Bosch, where you're working. So some good takeaways from what you've said. Now, given the fact that we are perhaps a bit squeezed for time, but the organizers have agreed to spill over a little, and I'll request the indulgence of the panel to react to a few questions, to make the audience also feel a little involved and engaged. They've been sending a lot of questions, and I'll pick up just 2 or 3 to get reactions from some members of the panel. So Sangeeta ji, there's a question that, based on what you said, that too much is expected of farmers in terms of adoption of emerging agriculture technology, especially digital technologies, right? So in a sense, the entire risk of the impact or the success of the technology has to be borne by the farmer, right? How can some de-risking mechanism be created so that the farmer who's coming forward to adopt a breaking, frontier technology is not, the loser in case the technology does not deliver to the extent that it is claiming? So some reaction that would.
I think so. Like whenever we are into implementation of such automation or sensor-based irrigation systems or anything which is very high tech, a lot of hand-holding after-sales service is being offered, because we are very well aware that the farmer is not used to such advanced technologies and all. And unless and until we have this mechanism of after-sales technical services in place, our organization just cannot go ahead. So every organization who comes out with something new ensures that the success of the farmer is there. Otherwise, they get wiped out. So be rest assured that whenever a new technology is being launched, any organization does not take the risk of just leaving it in the hands of the farmer and seeing to it that the farmer does not succeed. The technology is meant for the success of the farmer, meant for increasing the productivity of the farmer, the farm operations, increasing the efficiency, and thereby the actual saving in the labor and cost to the farmer. So that's what it is.
Okay, thank you. I hope the questioner is satisfied with the response. Aishwarya, there are in fact two in one question. There's one question, but in two parts. One is there's so much talk about the use of artificial intelligence in agriculture. So, number one, what are your thoughts as a representing a large multinational who definitely must have some initiatives ongoing on the use of AI in agriculture? And there's a second part of this question, which is, do you see any future for blockchain technology in agriculture? We are, of course, talking about the Indian context, but you're welcome to give us a global sort of perspective also. Over to you.
Thanks, Mr. Parvesh. Really interesting questions there. First up, AI is there to change the world. Just to give you a very, very layman example on what's happening is Google Lens. We click a photograph of a particular product and it tells me what the product is, or it searches the web for me and brings out what particular are related matches. The same database which is currently being created, where the annotation to each of these particular maybe pest diseases or whatever it is being done, when it is shared across the community, across the farmers, it becomes a great value proposition, and AI works at that particular level. Imagine a scenario where the farmer has to just open an app, doesn't have to specify what pest, what soil moisture, what kind of plant growth or crop models already inbuilt. It's gonna be a game changer for everyone, and combine it with satellite technologies, it again becomes a valuable proposition. So AI is there to change the world. The world is moving towards the capability where you can train your own AI models. So those days are not really far. So in the interest of time, I won't speak much about that. Second thing is the blockchain, which is actually very, very close to my heart. And I recently, got the Bosch India Innovation Award for one of the blockchain projects anyhow, wherein we are able to connect the value chain and establish that trust which is missing in the value chain. And I believe coming in the future, like the developed nations as well, the demand for the trusted source where my product is originating from, is it really that product? Was it tampered in between? Or am I buying it from a supplier or an organization which have sustainable and ethical practices inbuilt in their organization? All these factors, when combined together, you need a technology which can establish that trust level. And I believe blockchain is one technology which is going to act big way into the food and agri supply chain, from where the farmer can get remunerated, can get paid actually for the ethical practices being implemented at the farm. If a farmer uses ethical practices, natural herbicides and not using any chemicals on the ground, there are people out there who are in the cities at the retail front who are willing to incentivize the farmer. But they really need a system where they can be sure that the farmer really did it. Blockchain as a technology builds that trust into the value chain, into the complete system. And in the end, the farmer who's generating the data is going to get paid for that data. I'll stop there.
So thank you so much for reacting to both. And if I could be permitted to just ask one supplementary to your last very thoughtful response to the blockchain idea. And I'm linking it to what Mr. Sodhi spoke about. That is that the increasing preference to local brands, the increasing preference to familiar brands, and the desire of the consumer to know what he's eating or she's eating. So, are you aware of any ongoing innovations or ongoing applications of this blockchain technology in agriculture in India?
We have a solution which is called True Food Plus. Okay. Unfortunately, it is not currently being used in India, but we are working with large dairy cooperatives globally, as well as food manufacturers who would like to, because Mr. Parvesh, you would know, the consumers there are somehow changing and they want to incentivize the value chain. But this technology is there. There are a lot of Indian startups as well who are investing into such a thing. So technology is there. Only thing is that it hasn't been implemented into the Indian context yet.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much. So Neeruji, with your permission, I'm just going to summarize what I have,
Please.
I think learned from this wonderful panel and what it is suggesting in terms of a supportive ecosystem where startups, especially agri-focused startups, and other businesses, even existing businesses, we should not assume that the role of existing businesses will decrease because there is a very large number of growing startups. One survey which I am familiar with has come up with a number of more than 600 startups only focused on the agri sector. Okay, but we must juxtapose this against the reality that now the country has recorded more than 30,000 startups overall. So out of 30,000, if barely 600 are focused on agriculture, I think there is still a huge disconnect or a huge gap or deficit to be met. So why is it that a larger number of, barring of course the very bright people who've spoken today, and of course many who are out there in the field who are working, I see that there are perhaps 6 pillars of this ecosystem which are desirable. Some of them are in the process of being built, but maybe some of them are completely absent. So the first pillar, of course, I think, very good point was made that an innovation should seek to solve a real problem that exists. And innovation should not, is not something that, now, given the huge range of outstanding legacy problems in the agriculture sector, this certainly is not a challenge. There are problems that need to be solved. How do we help to link innovators to these problems? And that's, I'm, presenting to you as a, key figure, and maybe the role that ICAR, PUSA could play in perhaps at least showcasing the range of challenges which need to be addressed and which are in fact opportunities. The second, I think, learning is that obviously there are lots of very interesting seed saplings out there in the open. And Makul again said very rightly that many of them are, very nimble, very fast. But how does a startup become a Bosch? Or in our context, how does a startup become the next Mahindra, right? That's really where perhaps we have not really solved that link or solved that problem. And, I think this is one of the missing pillars out of the 6 desirable pillars. How do small successes end up into giant pan-India or at least regional solutions? An Apple can begin in a garage and become a world brand. Why does an Indian startup not, still come up with the same sort of profile? That's, I think, a question for all of us. The third question that I think came up very well in this panel is the issue of creating standards and quality control. There again, because there is very little benchmarking, and that's linked to the role of research and development. Obviously, startups cannot invest very much in research and development. So the role of public institutions like ICAR in creating standards, in helping to disseminate those standards, in helping to enforce those standards, I think that becomes very critical. So standardization and quality control, especially because we are talking about food, and that's human consumed product. So there are safety issues, there are issues of perishability. I think those really need to be perhaps taken up by a public authority, which then could benefit a very large number of players in the ecosystem. The fourth point, which some more than 2 speakers referred to, is how do you engender more collaboration? Now, collaboration should not necessarily only be limited to startups and private sector companies, or between private sector companies, or between startups. What perhaps I have always missed, and I will be very frank that even while in government, I used to feel that the kind of resources that the government has are perhaps not shared as openly. Of course, in a structured format, in a transparent format, preventing any sort of misuse. Just to take one example, when I was Agriculture Secretary in Madhya Pradesh had the largest number of government farms because of its large size, and land is not such a challenging problem like, let's say, in Kerala or in some of the North Indian states. The government had over 30,000 acres of land under government farms. Yet Madhya Pradesh was a net importer of seed of most of the crops. It was barely self-sufficient at that time in soybean and maybe wheat. But for all of the crops, it was importing seed from other states. Obviously, the land resource was not being used in an optimal manner. Now, we could not develop a policy framework where we could invite private sector companies or even small cooperatives of farmers who wanted to produce seed. I'm just taking this as one of the examples. There are, of course, we know wonderful technologies developed by so many ICR institutions, which could actually be commercialized. And in fact, some work has now been done, I know, some very good work is being done. But on an ongoing basis, how do we create these linkages, as I said, these collaborative frameworks between government and startups, between startups and startups, between startups and existing public and private sector companies. And lastly, I think, again, a point many people alluded to, and again, I link it to what Sodhiji said in the beginning. See, Amul succeeded because it is present from the liquid milk to the ice cream, chain. It is able to realize value for the basic product, but also for value-added products, right? And value-added products increasingly contribute a significant portion of their profits. So how do we enable, and because we're talking about agriculture, how do we enable value addition and the benefits of that value addition to flow back to farmers? These are, as I said, these are all emerging pillars of this ecosystem. There is no immediate and short-term answer to all of these, but I, will just conclude my intervention here and thank my panelists for a wonderful session. And I'm going to hand it over back to Neeruji to wrap up the session.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for the wonderful session and for chairing. And it is now my turn to propose a formal vote of thanks. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Parvesh Sharma ji for chairing the session and for summarizing the session very, very insightful and in a very focused and precise manner by giving us the precise takeaways, like the innovation seeks to solve the solve the real problem and how to link innovation to the opportunity, and then the last one, the how we can flow back the value added product benefits to the farmers. So thank you, sir, for being with us and helping us and giving very insightful remarks to the startups. And I expect that the startups will be really very, very helpful for these startups to take these takeaways. So, and with this now, I also thank to Mr. R.S. Sodhi, who could fetch his time from his busy schedule. And I know that he was really sympathetic and eager to participate in this program. And then he said, okay, he will give us only the half an hour. And then, so thank you, sir, and sharing sharing the Amul story in a very beautiful way. I like that value for money at both the ends. So this was the one line that summarized his all, and giving the leadership consistency, a simple principle like consistency in leadership, business principle, HR practices, value system, quality. So these are some of the things that the startup should imbibe, and then they can look towards the Amul path that they can also have. So another very important point that he mentioned, the brick and mortar startup. This is not, the agri-tech is not something that you can have in front of the laptop. This is what I also say to the startups, that you should be hands-on. Otherwise, you'll not get the deep learning of this sector, which is really very, very important if you want to be successful in this sector. Thank you, sir, for your wisdom of words. And now, because, sir, Nakul has rightly mentioned that you started from the waste to wealth. So because this is a time that waste management is an important aspect. So thank you, Nakul, for your very means giving the insights regarding the backward integration and how you can take word and how you can make money out of it. And this is really very important these days, that if you cannot manage the waste, then it will be really a very difficult problem. And moreover, I just want to say कि कहते हैं कि सर कूड़े वाला आ गया. Basically कूड़े वाले तो हम होते हैं, वो तो सफाई वाला होता है, वो तो साफ करता है. So that's how I take this waste management system. And Dr. Tyagi very beautifully that he mentioned the traditional snacks, and in a very simple way that the good brand, right type of the raw material at affordable price, hygienic, taste, consistency in taste. So this looks very simple, but these are very hard to follow. So one should, these are all things that here and there, but because of this panel, we can see all these mala ke moti at a one place so that we can make a mala for our startup to grow forward. And Ashish and Dr. Sangeeta and Ashwarya, because they were coming from the same sector. So in due to the paucity of time, so basically they said the same thing, that the collaboration is the mantra. And Parvesh sir has very rightly mentioned, it is not only the startup to startup collaboration, it is not only the startup to corporate collaboration. Basically, government should also have the startup to government collaboration, and the hackathon is a part of that, that we under RKY Raftar scheme, we are trying to create the startup to government collaboration in another way. May not be in a direct way, but yes, definitely, because the audience are getting chance to get the interactions with the policymakers and with the industry, with investors, with the theme experts. So that's how the collaborative first step towards the collaboration we have started. So with these words, I would like to once again thanks to all the panelists for joining us today and sharing their thoughts, and to all the audience to joining us. And last but not the least, my team, who has really, they are putting their best effort and working day and night to for this to make this event a successful event. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice session. Thank you all of you. Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Thanks.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.